sailors were actually paid in rum. I mean, if you're a sailor in the middle of the ocean, as I mentioned, 6 months journey all the way to get here to Australia, you're not going to give money to the sailors. What are they going to do with money in the middle of the ocean? They feed it to the fish, right? Absolutely useless. So they gave them rum. That kept them happy. Half a pint of rum per day. So when they arrived here in Australia, they had a lot of rum on hand. Now, Lord Sydney himself decided that money was evil. We're going to get rid of money, and we're not going to have any form of currency here in New South Wales. So what did they replace money with? Trading alcohol. The only problem was that this was a brand new colony, started by British people who are used to the cold weather. They didn't know how to grow grain and bread. They were really, really struggling. And all of these very thirsty people were using the grain to make alcohol and not make food. So the government at the time banned distillation in New South Wales. No alcohol allowed, which means the only way that alcohol could get in and out of the state was through boats. So, go all the way to Scotland. A guy named William Clark. He found a guy named Robert Campbell, and Robert Campbell said, I've heard about this place called New South Wales, and they are desperate for international imports of alcohol. We can make a lot of money. They found a guy named Gavin Hamilton, who was a captain of a ship. They got a crew together, and they got 100 barrels of alcohol, and they decided they were going to make the journey all the way from England, all the way around to Australia. They got close. Huge storm knocked them off coast, and they were shipwrecked off an island called Preservation Island, which is one of the tiny islands off Tasmania. Luckily, the alcohol survived. But the only problem was, we had a bunch of sailors on an island with 100 boxes of alcohol. What are you going to do? Right? You're dead anyway. You're on a deserted island in the middle of literally nowhere. Perth hadn't been colonized. Melbourne hadn't been colonized. Tasmania hadn't been colonized. The closest people were New South Welshmen. So, Gavin Hamilton, the captain of the ship, decided, well, this is a little bit improper. We're probably all going to kill ourselves from alcohol poisoning. He got all the barrels of alcohol, put them on one of the dinghy, the lifeboats, sailed to one of the side islands, buried it, and said, we're not allowed to touch this alcohol. Not only is it our money, but it's our mean of survival. So, 17 of the sailors, including William Clark and Robert Campbell, hopped on a boat, and they sailed to Victoria to then try and make their way to New South Wales, to Sydney, to save everyone. Once again, a giant storm knocked them off course, and they shipwrecked off 90 Mile Beach, and then began one of the most unheard of, unsung adventure stories ever, where 17 men attempted to walk 700 kilometers up the coast of Australia to safety. It was an arduous journey. At points, they were dying of starvation, dying of thirst, crawling on their hands and knees as they're making their way to Sydney. The journey took 5 months. When they finally arrived in Sydney, there were only 4 left alive.